Have you ever traveled through time? We do it every day.
Asgardia is a country with a population of more than 1 million people from more than 200 countries on Earth. Asgardia gives everyone equal opportunities, no matter what their earthly status is.
It is possible to create and live in the future right now. Are you ready? Forward progress is the solution to the entire human race. Our mission is to bridge new horizons. In Asgardia, there is no limit to the universal development in the fields of technology, finance, and arts. Asgardia is a new space and digital economy which creates opportunities for the global economy. We deliver innovations. Do you want to get on board with us? We are developing various kinds of digital businesses, attracting them to the Asgardia platform that can be backed by the means of our umbrella, i.e. franchising of the Asgardia brand. We can not only attract investments into space programs from prominent institutional investors, but also affordable amounts from the citizens of Asgardia. We comprise of more than 1 million people.
Asgardia is a chance to realize one's dream. This is a dream-driven space nation. Asgardia is a chance to belong to a community of free-thinking enthusiasts, goal-driven dreamers, and fearless innovators, theorists, and scientists.
We are the first space nation. One humanity, one unity.
Asgardia.
We are creating
The future.
That you got. That sounds like a good number. That sounds like a good deal.
Oh yeah, it's not bad.
Okay, we're going to start.
Fine.
We're going to start in 2
The only
minutes.
reason we're down here is I'm getting baptized tomorrow.
Oh, right, very good. Your life's certainly moving forward.
Yeah.
So let's just see. Just start in a minute or so. Okay, and we are live, so I'll start in a moment, but just to explain, I'm Len Topic. I'll tell you more about that for new viewers in a minute or two, and this is the Asgardia Legislative Forum. I'll also explain what that is shortly. Right, starting in 30 seconds at 5 past. Right, let's start. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Asgardia Legislative Forum, which is a regular event, which we have. I'm Len Topic. I'm the chair of the Parliament of Asgardia, which means that I serve the members of the Parliament, and they are my bosses, if you like. I've made sure that we have great support. I hopefully I've made sure that we have great support, but also my best support is the Parliament itself, because I'm here to help the colleagues make Parliament the best it can possibly be. These Asgardia legislative forums are, or ALF events, are an opportunity for us to talk without a vote. And we usually have one of these 1 or 2 weeks before we have a digital sitting. There are 4 digital sittings every year, and those are formal, and they are a statutory requirement. But by having these ALFs, we've discovered that we can make those more effective, often a little bit shorter, and very intelligent as well. So we have a number of items today, which I'll go through in a moment. Everyone is entitled to speak. It's an open opportunity, an open forum. They're also allowed to criticize me and each other. We have no fear of feedback. Most importantly, when we finish, which has to be within 2 hours, because we have another event after this, we should be fairly aligned on the legislation and if anything needs to change as well. So I'm going to, the latest we'll finish today is 1300 UTC, which is 1 hour and 54 minutes from now. I would like to finish a bit sooner than that if we can, ideally a lot sooner, so that we can be ready for the very interesting Galactic Prime Directive meeting convention that we're having today, which is a really exciting opportunity for us to lead the debate across the world on how we will interact with new life that we don't know of when we find it, and we will surely find it eventually. But that's a separate item. It's not this meeting, so there'll be a formal stop between the two. So let's look at the agenda today. The opening of the Asgardia Legislative Forum and the review of the agenda is what we're doing now, and we have 7 other items. We have 4 items of legislation to consider: the Committee Chair's Protocol, the Space Debris Mitigation and Management Act, the Space Traffic Management Act, and the Youth and Education Framework Act. All of them are first reading. The legislation goes through 3 stages: first reading, second reading, and third reading. And so at this stage, because we completed the process in different ways for the legislation earlier on, we have got to start again with new legislation. I just got another important piece of news in a moment as well, which I'll just share from a very good friend of Asgardia. I'll tell you in a minute. But I think that friend may be watching, so they'll see. They'll see what I'm going to say. So those are the bits of legislation. Then we'll have a quick chat on legislation to be scheduled. I just put that in just in case there's something that you would like us to consider, to discuss, to proceed with. But that's not mandatory. Then the Executive Congress, a brief update at the end of that as the second last item. And then the final item, of course, is close of the business. And the 4 people I expect to speak are myself on the first item, the protocol, further on the Mitigation Management Act, further also on the Space Traffic Management Act, and Sabahattin on Youth and Education Framework Act. You don't have to speak for long. If this meeting only takes 20 minutes, that's fine. We don't get measured by the minute. We get measured by results. Any questions on any of that? Okay, good. Before we go any further, I have important news. Oh, John's filling in for further as she's had an emergency. Thanks, John. I have important news. Today, it's the wedding anniversary of Ben and Ria. What a coincidence. It's the wedding anniversary of both of them, Ben and Ria Dell. Congratulations, Ria. Thank you for making the big sacrifice of spending your wedding anniversary with us. That's very, very good of you. Congratulations for that. How many years? 80? 100? Not sure. You can put that into the chat, but it's great to celebrate these milestones in our lives. 8 years. Congratulations. Right, basically, roughly the same age as Asgardia in that case. Very good. Well, I hope you have a great day, and hope it's not ruined by the fact you have to spend it with us. Very good of you to be here. It really is appreciated. Excellent. Thank you. So I'm going to, especially now that we know that Ria needs to have a bit of private time today, I'm going to try and keep things moving as fast as I can. If I miss something or if you want to say something, always feel free to just raise your hand. I'm very happy to get your feedback at any point. So let me start with the first item, which is the Asgardia Committee Chairs Protocol. I won't go through this line by line. The purpose of this document that I've produced is to formalize what we already do. You and I, the chairs, we all know what we're supposed to do, but that is because we've been doing it, not because it's been written down. And the protocol is really a guideline of expectations for results. Let me just get it up onto my screen, and I'll tell you why I've written it, because in 30 years' time or 50 years' time, when we're not here, maybe you're not in Parliament, I suppose you could be here for 50 years, but I won't be here because I'll be 110 then, and I'll either be in space or further away than that. The purpose of this is to make sure that best practice from our world is shared with everybody else in the future world. And it's nothing really dramatic in it. It's all fairly straightforward, I hope. And it's also not meant to make it more difficult. It's actually meant to make it a little bit easier. Because if we do have a set of directions and things that we're supposed to do, then quite simply, the world should simply be more straightforward for us. The protocol covers frequency of meetings, expectations of chairs to attend the physical sittings and executive congresses, and a whole lot of other things as well. It's a protocol because it's not like a legal document. If you don't attend the weekly meetings of Committee of Chairs, there's not really a sanction. You're not going to be punished for it, but it does become inconvenient because we need that core group of 12 chairs to regularly meet to maintain the momentum in the system. So in a way, it's a description of reasonableness. That's why there are no sanctions. It doesn't say that there'll be a penalty if you don't do these things. In practice, whoever is the chair of Parliament, and so far it's just been me, but it won't be me forever, of course, the chair of Parliament has an informal relationship with the chairs. The Thursday meetings are more an opportunity for the chairs of the committees to feed back to the chair of Parliament, and it's chaired by the deputy chair of Parliament, who happens at the moment to be Peter Maughan. But, and it's a big thing, that coalition of interaction has grown up because we are the pioneers, we're the first people. And as such, I think it's just useful to have something written down which those who follow us will be able to use as a guide based on what we've learned and what we do. Two more things about it. And the first thing is that we have the opportunity to add and modify this as time goes by. So if there's a new development in how Asgardia operates, then we can put it in there. So it's a living document, if you like. And the second thing is, I hope that this gives you some direction in terms of performance expectations or minimum, what's a KPIs, key performance indicators, the sort of things that you should be willing to do if you are in the Asgardia Parliament and if you're a chair. So that would mean if there's a vacancy, I would share this protocol document with Parliament and with potential candidates. Say, do you think you can do this? Because this is more or less what you should be willing to do. And beyond that, I don't really want to add anything else. I'll just open it up to chairs. The chairs of this committee have had the opportunity to feed into this already, but I'll open it up to everybody in case anyone's got any questions or comments. Hello, Sarah. Congratulations. Okay, if this looks reasonable, I don't want to dwell on it too much, but by inference, the inference is that if people don't really have an objection to it, then if you pass it as a voting item next week, then that protocol will be in place. It doesn't go through second and third reading. It's a slightly different process. Great, thank you. Okay, so that will be what chairs are expected to do. I actually don't know why it's only come to me now. I've only realized we need one of these now after 8 years, but there we go. Nobody else suggested it either, so I'm no worse than either of the rest of you. Incidentally, it might be wise, and I've only just thought about it this second, to have a similar kind of document for the Chair of Parliament, but it's a little bit different because if you go into the Constitution, the Chair of Parliament's role is by inference contained in there, together with the precedents which I have set. I'd like to think in the years ahead, while I'm still chair, we will get to a stage where everybody pretty much knows what the job is. Because once again, we're building something to last, not something just for now. It's a strange thing to look at the future, strange thing to put things into place for when we are not here. But that's what parents do. Parents do that, and we're the parents of this Asgardia Parliament. So we have to make sure that as it grows, it learns and it follows good manners and good protocols. And I think that could be a very useful lasting legacy. Also, if there are disputes or interpersonal stresses, then if we have these sorts of protocols, it helps to resolve them. And once again, last point I'll make, that I don't like a system which depends on punishment. Much better that we have an incentive to want to be here just because we agree. Okay, I have nothing more to say on that, and you'll be voting on that next weekend. And everyone gets to vote, not just the chairs. Thank you. Let me move on to the Asgardia Space Debris Mitigation and Management Act. And John Fine very kindly is representing these two items. So John, let me go to you now and let you take over.
Okay, thank you, Lambert. Yeah, I just got a last minute message from Ferda, and she said she had an emergency, and if I could fill in for her, she'd appreciate it. So I said, yes, no problem. You know me, I'm here to serve. So let me see here. I'm using a different system, so I'm gonna share screen and try to get all this stuff to work right.
As long as you're not using the same methodology as Elon Musk. In other words, the new system, and it'll work for 4 minutes and then explode.
Oh, well, no, I don't want anything to explode. Yeah, he does seem to say that, doesn't he?
Well, if it's going to do one orbit, if it blows up on re-entry, hopefully we'll be finished by then. Okay, yeah, something's coming.
Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay,
I
great.
can. You go ahead. Over to you.
Okay. I have to, there we go. All right. I'm going to enlarge it a little bit.
Yeah, it looks fine.
Okay. This is the first reading of the Asgardia Space Debris Mitigation and Management Act. Of course, the author was Ferda, but the whole committee worked on this. We each did our part. We were actually kind of surprised when we found out that it was going to be accepted as a first reading. We had tried to put it in before and didn't have as much luck. But I guess it was just you were just waiting for our time to come. So we are very happy to be able to present it for the committee. And Okay, we'll go on to the preamble. I'm just going to read it. I don't have one of my slides because I wasn't prepared for that. Like I said, this was very last minute. So I'll just read directly from the document itself.
That's fine.
Since it's only a first reading, this won't take long at all because the first reading document's pretty short. All right. Recognizing the urgent challenge that space debris poses to safe and sustainable space activities, this legislation establishes clear measures for preventing and managing debris to ensure the long-term viability of outer space for all. Committed to international cooperation and innovation, the Act encourages shared responsibility, adoption of best practices, and development of advanced solutions, safeguarding space for present and future generations. The core principles. Number one, prevention and mitigation. All spacefaring entities must adhere to stringent design standards and operational practices to minimize the creation of space debris during the launch, operation, and end-of-life disposal of spacecraft and satellites. End-of-life disposal. Excuse me. Operators are required to implement safe and controlled deorbiting or relocation plans for their spacecraft at the end of their operational life to reduce long-term debris generation. Collision avoidance. Active satellite operators must engage in space traffic management practices, including collision avoidance maneuvers, to minimize the risk of collisions and the generation of debris. Monitoring and tracking. Governments and relevant space agencies must establish and maintain surveillance systems to monitor and track the location and movement of space debris in Earth's orbit. Data sharing. Information on space debris trajectories include predicted conjunctions and potential collision events. Must be shared among relevant stakeholders to facilitate collision avoidance and mitigation efforts. Liability and responsibility. Operators are liable for any damage caused by their vehicles or resulting space debris, and may be required to participate in debris removal missions if their debris poses significant risk. Excuse me, my stomach has decided to give me troubles right at the time I'm trying to read
It's the nerves, John. It's the nerves. Stay calm. The maximum audience that you could be having now is 8,000 million people. Don't worry.
It's the butterflies, right? International cooperation. Governments and space agencies must cooperate internationally to develop and implement standards, guidelines, and best practices for space debris mitigation and management, compliance and enforcement. Regulatory bodies must monitor compliance with space debris mitigation requirements and enforce penalties for noncompliance, including fines and suspension of launch licenses. Now, those core principles are exactly aligned with the core principles of the United Nations. Oh, wait, I'm not finished yet, am I? Okay, sorry. See, you can tell I haven't rehearsed for this. We'll go number 9, research and development. Governments must allocate resources for research and development efforts aimed at improving space debris mitigation technologies and techniques. And the last one is periodic review. The effectiveness of the Act must be periodically reviewed and revised as necessary to adapt to evolving technological, operational, and regulatory landscapes. Now, these principles, these 10 principles, are aligned with of course, the United Nations, and they are aligned with most world powers. In fact, many of these principles have already been deployed by countries like the United States, Great Britain, uh, uh, Russia, France, on and on and on. So they're not new to the world, but this is basically an act saying the Scardia wants to align themselves with the world as far as where space debris is concerned, and that is an important endeavor for us to venture into, since we are definitely going to be a partner in space with the rest of the world. So I think it's well worth the effort to put it into a law. Articles, we got purpose, definitions, space debris mitigation requirements, space debris monitoring and tracking, liability and responsibility, international cooperation, enforcement and penalties, funding and resources, review and revision, implementation, severability, and enactment. And that is it. That is the first reading. And I'm open to any questions. I don't really have any. Well, actually, I could find that information real quick. If somebody has any questions, I'll try to answer their questions. However, this is just a first reading. If Parliament approves the first reading, it will go into the LMRG, of course, where it will get further developed. And then in the second reading, you will see the entire act, in its entirety. So this is just the framework that we are choosing to work with as far as space debris management. So anyway, that's it. That's all I have. Let me stop share.
Thank you, John. That's good. Any questions or comments on this? Very well presented, John. Ikobi.
Hi there, everyone. How are you?
Very well, thank you. What about you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for the excellent presentation. I think the first thing I wanted to just address was this is coming from just past review. According to Ricky Sickles and some of the other people, Asgardia does not have a military. So I'm trying to sort of wrap my head around some of the aspects that John mentioned. So I think having a military and some other requirements will need to come into review again, because from my just recollection, I think we said that Asgard does not have a military. So it sort of feels like this sort of defeats the purpose of what Asgardia has already established. So just wondering how that will take place and what comes into play with that. So just wanted to put that on the table.
John, do you want to make a comment?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what part of the act that you are referring to, because I didn't mention anything about military in the act at all. And in fact, there's no mention of it in what we've developed in the full document, and there's no mention of it here in the first reading. Asgardia is committed that they won't have a military. But having a military has really nothing to do with space debris management and mitigation. That's just being a good steward of space. And Asgardia has confirmed within the Constitution that they would be a good steward. within space, and therefore it would make sense for them to adopt. And in fact, you it would make sense very much off the Constitution alone, because we are committed to being good stewards in space, that we would adopt debris mitigation and management. And all that's done today with technology, um, satellites, and a lot of it's done with telescopes, and there's usually definitely coordinating involved from one nation to the next, where they share the data from one other to the other, and anybody knows that you cannot uh, be in all places of the earth at one time, any one country, and you can't see the space of Earth all in one time from any one country, and you can't even send messages all at one time from any country, unless you have a collaboration of countries all doing their part. So each country checks their little part of space, and each country shares that information through their scientists mostly, and usually their space program. And I'm sure Asgardia will have a space program. So, uh, and I know we have scientists. So, uh, really, there's no reason for a military to be involved in any way. If there's any enforcement that's need to be done, that could be done through diplomacy and litigation, or uh, those means, and that of course go through the judicial system if need be, and if it's diplomacy, that'll go through our diplomatic channels. So, and in most cases, it will be done through diplomacy. Like I said, most of the nations on Earth are 100% in on space management and or space debris management and mitigation, because they know how important it is, and how hazardous space debris has become. And so they are all actively taking a seat at that table. So, and there will be a day that Asgardia has to take a seat at that table. So, uh, and when that day comes, we should have already have something in place saying that, hey, we're on board too. And that's what this is. Thank you.
I understand. I wouldn't say that this is sort of mute on arrival, but I would like to emphasize the aspect of what other requirements are in place in regards to handling space debris. In regards to some of the things that are already orbiting our atmosphere, in regards to satellites, in regards to telescopes, in regards to telecommunication centers, in regards to planetary defense systems, in regards to how space debris is being currently managed, you're going to want to start reviewing military requirements, because I know you could just say it, but you're going to want to have to include those aspects. And I know that's not where you came from, but it's something to consider. I know you're saying that you didn't put it anywhere, but in all reality, when you do start negotiating or working with people who do have space debris or in that current field, you will be speaking to the military. You will be speaking to people who enforce things like mitigation of asteroids, mitigation of telescopes, and mitigation of all those sort of communications and monitoring from that particular sphere. So that's just something to keep in mind, and that's just my 2 cents according to this. So just making sure you make some reservations for that as well.
Right. And I understand what you're saying, but as you may know, the military also has a dedicated team of scientists and diplomats and everything that I just talked about. And more than likely, most countries, militaries have those systems in place, and those are most likely, like United States, it will probably be the Space Force that's in charge, and they have a full array of scientists and what have you that do handle this particular area. And if we get to that juncture, like I said, most of it will be done through scientists and diplomats. It won't be done as a military measure. Yes, there are military measures being done in space, of course. Several countries have military equipment up there and whatnot, and that's no concern of Asgardia's. Okay, that's concern of those countries. Asgardia won't have any military equipment. They won't have any satellites that are dedicated to military or anything like that. That's not something we'll have. And if we ever did uh, get in a project where the military was related from other countries, then I again we would go through science, the scientists and the diplomats, not actually connect or direct contact with their military. And I know here in the United States, our military has everything from a marching band to cooks to scientists to secretaries, everything that you find in the world, they also have in the military. And all those uh, departments work in their specific fields. And space debris mitigation and management is definitely a scientific field. It's not a necessary what you would call a military endeavor. It's just a scientific field that the military is involved in because they have equipment that they need to have up in space, namely satellites that they use for their particular um, missions in the world. That's usually all they have, and those satellites have to be secure. They have to be safe, and in the countries that can actually afford that, really work really hard keeping those satellites secure and safe. And normally you would not, because a military satellite is generally uh, built way better than anything else up there, and you won't normally see any kind of debris from that. Most of the debris comes from, believe it or not, on the civilian side, especially during civilian launches, or where a country makes a mistake and launches something and something goes wrong and that it blows up when it gets into the lower atmosphere or somewhere else. And a lot of debris there as well. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why Elon Musk, SpaceX, is creating these reusable rockets. And a lot of countries are trying to get on board with that, is so that it creates less debris in space. Because right now, as it stands, when a rocket goes up, everything that it expels, to include the urine from humans, gets expelled into space. And so whenever they leave a part of the craft up there, guess what? It stays up there until it either finds its way to our atmosphere and burns up, or it just stays up there. And right now, they're tracking thousands of pieces of orbital space debris across our planet. And right now, it's been pretty safe, although a few have gotten away from them. But right now, it's pretty safe. But they can predict that it could get a lot worse, and that's why it is an important topic, even in the world on the world stage. It's a very important topic that gets talked about, like at the World Economic Forum and all these other places on a regular basis. So, yeah. And I understand where you're coming from, but I'm saying that as far as the engagement, that will mostly be done through scientists and diplomats, and not, we really won't be engaging with the military at all. They don't play that role. They do, their scientists do, but they'll be playing the role of a scientist. And their diplomats do, but they'll be playing the role of a diplomat, even though they are in the military. So I hope that helps.
Yes, I definitely see where you're coming from, but I'd like to just speak about reality and in all sense of what really entails. When you are speaking to space debris, it is owned by military situations. It's owned by Lockheed Martin. It's owned by uh, Bolsheviks. It's owned by specific people who have put it out there. So when you are talking about touching one of their equipment, even if it's something that's floating out there, if it's something that they've set up a base on, you will need to start negotiating with people who have created these situations. For example, Lockheed Martin is filled with scientists. They create weapons. When you start cleaning up things that they have sent out there that starts floating, it turns into a military excursion. They're talking about private contractors, items that they have, even if it falls off of whatever quasi-military system they've put out there, that needs to be considered. So if it's just creating a section of what you consider is debris, if you're removing things like asteroids from debris, if you're removing things like satellites by what is considered debris, if you're removing things that are connected to people's particular requirements and ensuring that that is not considered debris, then yes, maybe that's something we can talk about. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be speaking with those particular systems because when it comes to cleaning it up, there's the Environmental Protection Agency, there's the different requirements that have already been put in place in regards to mining of those particular structures. So you will be speaking to military. Yes, you can say scientists, but you're talking about consultants, you're talking about um, sort of mercenaries or people who do it on the side in regards to those particular structures. So you can say scientists, but you need to make sure you put considerations in place for that as well.
Right. Well, I understand, but and most of what you said is, most of what you said is, of course, buried in the details. But the again, all that is done diplomatically. It's a collaboration between those companies, United States, Russia, France, and all these countries. They sit down and they talk about it. And normally, the person that's doing the talking will be one of their top scientists that deal with because we're talking about space debris management and mitigation. We're not talking about soldiers or anything like that. We're talking about management and mitigation. Management and mitigation is not yes, if you're managing and mitigating soldiers, fine. But the stuff that's up there right now, it is debris. It's junk. That's it. That's all it is, junk. And there and it has that eventually we are going to have to start removing that junk or finding a way. And what we're doing right now, rockets that go up, they 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 put a deorbit option on them so that they deorbit satellites, of course, that go up, and they put a deorbit option on the satellite so that it burns up in the atmosphere because almost every satellite we have will burn up in the atmosphere and totally harmless to the United States or any other country, the world. So, but the they will have special departments designed to deal with that, and they're already dealing with it right now. I know about EPA and all that. Yes, fine, but that's not a concern. We're not getting into the politics of other countries. That's their area of expertise. They will bring that with them when they come to the table, and they will work out those details for that country. We'll only work out what needs to be done for Asgardia, and our contact will be minimal to even like the United States because and because we'll be doing it through a diplomatic means. It always gets pushed up to it gets worked out by the people, the things that you're talking about, but eventually it all gets pushed up to the diplomats, and they all gather around the table and talk about it, and then it gets pushed back down. So there is a process already in place, and it actually is working very well. So anyway, I understand what you're saying, and thank you for your input. But I think we've talked enough on belongings.
Thank you, John. Let's go to Ricky next. Ricky.
Yes, technically Asgardia does not have military, but we do have a security division. And back in 2018, I had put together a small idea of how it could be incorporated. And it would basically be, hold on, it would basically be a search and rescue type operation set up that way for off station activities. And part of that would be debris mitigation. One of the Han's main things that he wanted to achieve was an autonomous AI or semi-autonomous, actually, system of drones to take care of things like that. So you're both right in what you were saying, but at the same time, once you're up there, okay, and actually living in space and doing business and such, you're going to need something like that. Like I said, it's not necessarily a military, but it's more of a search and rescue type, which can be contracted out to take care of space debris. Right now, they sent a lot of it. They deorbit it. Personally, I think it should be put up at a Lagrange point so it can be recycled. But that's my opinion. So that's all I got to say.
Thanks, Ricky. John?
Yeah, I mean, I understand. We definitely need security, and Asgardia has security. So I see no problem there. But we already have security in place. We have a minister of information or safety and security, and we have you as the chair of safety and security. So I see no problem there. And I'm sure space debris will play a part. There will be an amendment or something like that. Well, what we're building here right now is just the framework, and when we get to that point that you're talking about, there may need be an amendment or may not. It may the safety and security just introduce their own. Well, hold on. It may be the safety and security introduces their own act at that time that better helps explain what's needed and what have. We're just dealing with the. I think we do have some on the security. Let's see here. Let's see. Research periodic review. No, we're dealing with it looks like that we're. Hold on. Having to pop out of one screen into another. Can't find my mouse. There it is. Okay, we're dealing. Let's see what we got here. We have enforcement. So I'm sure we have something in there under that. I don't have the whole thing in front of me right now, but that's for us to talk about during the for the second reading. But we do have enforcement in there, and that would fall under safety and security, of course. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks, John. Sarah, next.
Thank you. I mean, as we all know, we've discussed this for years. There are millions and millions of pieces of space debris, and any long-term habitation in space is going to need to address this, like absolutely for safety and security, but just to be good stewards in space. And I really think, as a first reading, that this is the direction that Asgardia needs to take, because we want to lead the world in peaceful and successful scientific and humanitarian habitation in space. So I think FERDA and Foreign Affairs have done an amazing job. Again, this is a first reading. This is just a framework getting into the nitty gritty details. And a first reading is probably pretty unnecessary. So I support this. I think it's amazingly well done. And I absolutely agree this is the direction we should be headed.
Thank you, Sarah. I think it is good. I very much echo those views of yours. It does seem to be really well put together. And others aren't thinking about it yet, but they should be. They're thinking about it from a practical point of view, but it's a passive approach. This is a more proactive approach. I don't want to criticize the others, but when you blow up satellites in space, you're just asking for trouble, basically. Not quite sure why anybody thought that was a good idea. Right, Ikobi.
Hi there, everyone. Yes, so I definitely see where you're all coming from, but I think before this goes ahead, I'm not in complete support. I definitely do see the importance of why we should have this, but I want to see something in there from some of the top aero defense teams, Lockheed Martin, the Northrop Group, Boeing. We need to see something from them encouraging what we're doing here. Because, like you said, it'd be with the scientists, and those are where the scientists go. So making sure that those particular requirements are in place, because like I said, you're cleaning up someone else's product, someone else's data, someone else's technology. What if they ask for it? Are you going to give it back? Are you going to start an issue about who owns whatever you cleaned up? So you're going to need to include something there, putting us in a place where we're able to speak directly, ensure that there is peace when that is going on. Because if you clean up the space debris, are you going to give it back to the owner? Or are you going to keep it for yourself? How does that come into play? So yes, I definitely see where it's important for us to put this in there, but making sure we make those reservations, making sure we're forming those partnerships, those alliances, and ensuring people like Northrop, Lockheed, Boeing get their dues and get their requirements, and the other structures and systems and offices are represented as well, then yeah, I can get on board. But that's one thing I need us to make sure we're putting into consideration.
Right.
Thank you very much, John. Do you want to respond to
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I encourage you to read over the 10 principles. And the thing is, okay, Lockheed Martin, everything you named, that has to deal with the United States, not Asgardia. Okay. And the way it works, each country is responsible for their own actions. Asgardia will be responsible for theirs. And Asgardia will take care of their debris that they make. Okay. France is in charge of their debris. Russia's in charge of theirs. China's in charge of theirs. The United States is in charge of theirs. Okay. And yes, they know every piece of debris up there and they know what country it came from. Every piece of debris that they're tracking, they know exactly who put it up there. Okay. And that's right now with current technology. And Asgardia will know any debris that they leave, guarantee it. And the collaboration comes so that we don't pick up somebody's debris that doesn't belong to us. That's where the collaboration comes. We talk to these countries, say, hey, we're getting ready to clean up this sector. We accidentally had a shuttle break apart here. Um, does anybody have any debris in that sector? And they all chime in, yeah, we got some there. You need to stay away from this, this, and this, and we got this, this, and this. But you know what? If you don't mind, it's not that much. Could you go ahead and grab it too? Whatever. And that's where all those details. And there's a lot of lawyers, a lot of scientists, a lot of diplomats that all get involved in that. And of course, the scientists get involved because they're going to have to show them where the tracking data and where everything is and how everything's located and spaced out up there. And then the lawyers get involved because they want to make sure everybody's doing their due diligence through the law, international law. and and national law too, because nations, United States has a Space Debris Mitigation Act themselves, so they have to follow their own laws as well. They have to comply with their own regulations. I think the United States has a regulation, not a law, but and some countries have laws. So and but all that gets worked out in the details when they all sit down and talk about it. And Asgardia, what Asgardia is doing with this is saying, hey, we will be a willing participant at that table to talk about it and comply with the world as far as space debris is concerned. And that's what we're saying. They're saying this is, and the principles here are basically the same principles that are shared throughout the world. And so we're not like recreating anything. We're just getting on board what's already been put into place. And this is part of our way of saying to the world that Asgardia is on board with space debris and management and mitigation. And otherwise, we get out there, we're not on board with us, we don't have, we're just doing our own thing. We might get run over by debris for all we know. We don't get the tracking data. At least whether on board, we still get all the tracking data. The nations share the tracking data, so they know where all the debris is. And or we may not. Uh, they may not even want us to participate in the United Nations because we don't want to be part of the team, and that's one of our goals is to be part of the United Nations. It's one of our biggest goals. So at least within the top 10. So and this is very important to that in itself is very important to the HON that we do become part of the United Nations. And so this is an important endeavor, and this, of course, is just a framework. It's not going to be as detailed right off the bat. It's just a framework law, and like all framework laws, later on down the road, they become more commutative, and and uh, uh, and for instance, in my committee, the first law we came out was the ACE Act, right? And it was a framework law, right? And then later on, we came out with 4 or 5 different other acts that were a part of the ACE Act, a branch, if you will, to and even in Equity and Resources came out with 2 more that actually were 2 more branches. Well, actually, we're a branch off of our branches. So where there needs to be more clarification, that's when another act can be introduced. But we're nowhere near being the point where we're anywhere near being near space debris or management and mitigation, but we are at a point where we can actually present a framework law, and that's all this is, saying that we're on board. We're on board with supporting space debris and management and mitigation. That's basically all this act is saying. Is Asgardia supports the management and mitigation of space debris, and from what the majority of the world is saying, how it should be managed and mitigated. I hope that clears it up a little bit.
Thank you, John. Very good. Anybody else before we move on to the next item? John will also be presenting. Kirby.
Well, thank you very much, John. I wouldn't suggest we overtly get behind this until we have the appropriate structures involved. I think it's definitely a good idea. I'm not saying it's bad. It's definitely something we talk about. I brought it up a couple weeks ago when I first joined Asgardia, and that's when we found out that there was no military. But I think the appropriate structures need to be involved. How we mitigate those negotiation tactics, And I think we should also focus on sort of defense more in this category when you talk about space debris, because that's what's going to come around you, focusing on the material used to build Asgardia, how hardened or how tangible and how overtly structured that is in regards to space debris and harming the technology that we built compared to mitigating other people's debris, I guess the mitigating other debris. I know you've said that it's going to be specifically ours, but let's make sure we put that in there. Let's make sure we get the right support and make sure before it moves on, like we're all excited about it, but to make sure that we put those specific requirements in place and then enjoy the prosperity of how we can continue on. So yes, I like it, but I wouldn't want to go any further until those particular requirements are in place. But thank you for the good job.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay, this will, well, John, we can talk about it offline, but I'm inclined to leave it in, but I think, John, if you just pass that back to further, then we can think if there's something we need to change. Thanks, John, and thanks, Kirby. And John, you're still on, because we move to the next item that you're covering also, I believe, for further, and that is the Space Debris Mitigation, sorry, the Space Traffic Act. Management Act, Traffic Management Act. John, are you okay to do that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Let me share my screen again.
Yeah.
If I have to. I'm working on two screens here.
Ask this Sabahat team will be on. Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, there we are. You can see it. Over to you, John.
Okay, great. Okay, let me get this. Okay. Get a little, bring it up a little bit. All right, and I did want to conclude on that other discussion that we had that yes, everything that I said is in the act. So, and like I said, this is just that act is just us partnering with the world as far as agreeing to mitigate and manage space debris and our debris, and if asked by other countries to do theirs, but it'll have to be done legally, and it have to be with a whole group of people together talking about it, very important people, and those kind of details, and that is, of course, all in the act, and that's the whole idea with the principles, uh, and how they play into part. And the first reading is just you're playing into the principles, or is you're explaining the principles, and everything that Kobe said can all be worked out in the second reading. So if you don't support it, then I want to say that you don't support space debris and mitigation. So because this here is just the first reading. All the details come out in the second. And that's where things can be added, things can be taken out, because, we're just developing the act from the first reading. And we already have a set of words on the act that we developed, of course. We would do that. Every committee does. But as Lambic can tell you, that gets changed over time. And sometimes, like the ACE Act, it took the ACE Act, I think, 6 years. And it went through several revisions before it finally got to the point that it passed. And it went from the point of being originally it was like 3 different acts, and then it got combined into one, and it went through a whole lot, and anybody that's been paying attention to how our legislative process works have seen this and different acts where They go through a lot of editing and they go through debate. They go through ALFs where we talk about it and things get added, things get taken out. And that is just a normal process that we do here in Asgardia. So certainly what he's saying is important, and I'm sure that it will get talked about again. But I think we should stay on track of what we're actually doing, which is just the first reading, which is just a bare framework of what we're going to start out with. And again, that's what we're going to be doing here with the Asgardia Space Traffic Management Act. Okay, Asgardia Space Traffic Management Act. Again, this author was for Anna, but the whole committee worked on it, and this is its first reading. Preamble, and this is pretty short. Really, it's just sort of like something that we felt needs to go along with space debris. And I think you'll understand once I read the first reading. Recognizing the growing complexity and congestion of space activities and the need to ensure the safety, sustainability, and efficiency of space operations, the following law is enacted to establish a comprehensive framework for the management of space traffic. The core principles, these principles aim to create a comprehensive framework for managing space traffic and ensuring the safe and sustainable use of space resources. Safety and sustainability. The Act emphasizes the importance of ensuring safety, sustainability, and efficiency of space operations. This includes preventing collisions, interference, and the generation of space debris. You can see how that fits into space debris. Regulatory authority. The establishment of the Space Traffic Management Agency, STMA, to oversee and administer space traffic management regulations and policies. Licensing and authorization. All entities engaged in space activities must obtain licenses or authorizations from STMA. Space Situational Awareness, SSA. The capability to monitor, track, and predict the movements and positions of space objects in Earth's orbit and beyond. This, of course, would be something that we would develop. International cooperation. The Act promotes cooperation, information exchange, and collaboration with other countries and international organizations. Enforcement and penalties. The STMA is responsible for monitoring compliance and space traffic management regulations and may impose penalties for violations. And that's it. Articles, you got purpose, definitions, establishment of regulatory authority, space traffic regulations, space situational awareness, international cooperation, enforcement and penalties, funding and resources, review and revision, and implementation. And it's a pretty short act. It's severability and enactment. Sorry. But yeah, so it's a very short act, but it kind of corresponds with, if you're going to do something with space debris management and mitigation, you probably should also have something on management of traffic. Thank you.
Yeah, it's severability. Oh, sorry. Not severability. Yeah.
Severability. What did I say?
Severability, severability. But severability means the opportunity to get out of it, basically, to end the relationships that we may have as a result of that. Right. Okay. Any comments or questions on this? Thanks.
Well, you have to excuse my southern drawl. We kind of tend to say things a little different down here, Yankee.
I like it very much. Okay. All right. Just a couple of small points. Traffic management is going to become an issue because at the moment there aren't many people going in and out of space. If you have 1 million people there, well, think about it this way. If you have 10 people using a highway, you're not going to crash. If you have 1 million people, you're much more likely to crash. That's where the problems start. And I think that's that. Go on, John. You want to say?
I forgot to stop share. Sorry.
All right. That's where the problems start. The problems start when you have a lot of people fighting for the same space or just not paying attention. That's the issue. And that's the big issue here, I think, that we're trying to fix. And it's first reading again, so it's basically the principles. If people pass this, then we can get into looking at more of the detail, basically. But for now, I'm happy. I'm pretty happy with this. I think it's a pretty good piece of work, to be honest with you. Sperda works very hard on legislation.
Yeah, I agree. She does. She works very hard. Her and Carl worked on this originally, along with the what we're getting ready to do after this in the prime or the galactic prime directive.
Yeah.
They started all three of these initiatives originally, and then the rest of the committee come on board. So Ferda is just a workaholic when it comes to getting things done in our committee. And I must say, we have a really good turnout when we have our committee meetings and whatnot. And so everybody really enjoys her leadership. So I definitely give her a pat on the back for the effort that she puts out. Definitely.
Totally agree. And I hope whatever issue she has today, she gets resolved. Life gets in the way. It always does. Okay, thank you. I'm going to keep moving because I want us to have a small break between this and the next session. So let's go to Sebastian and the Asgardia Youth and Education Framework Act. Let me say something about the context. This began with Corner, Olivier, who did a superb job of creating pretty much an entire education system. And it was so big that we broke it into smaller parts. And this is the first element of it. This is the first principles, really, which apply to the whole thing. Sebastian, I saw you here. Is there anything you'd like to say about it?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, very well. Thank you. Very well.
I am outside now, iPhone.
Okay.
I haven't iPhone. I'm sorry. I read the articles about education, youth and education, but I sent to email Corna. The Corners don't send to me any documents. I don't know anything about the youth and education article, but John Fine sent to me one page about the youth education committee articles. I read, but I have to work papers about these documents. I will be sent to John Fine and Corna again. I need to some papers and information about these articles. And I try to for Dubai meetings. I sent to some documents. I don't know you accept or not. I don't reply is again.
Yeah, we can make those sorts of changes. we can modify it. What we've got here today
Yes.
is the first reading, and you can modify it a bit between now and next week if you wish to. It contains the preamble, the core principles, and the articles, 15 articles.
Yes.
Yeah, and the core principles are guaranteeing universal access, encouraging inquiry, exploration, and analysis, ensuring the comprehensive development of skills, knowledge, and competencies, safeguarding physical, mental, emotional well-being, instilling civic responsibility, and advancing cultural diversity. Those are the core principles. And then we've got the 15 articles, purpose definitions, rights and responsibilities, education system, access and equity, curriculum and pedagogy, assessment, special education needs, welfare, engagement, teacher development, funding, partnerships, monitoring, and a technical article.
Okay,
this-
I,
Yeah,
I will be working about the youth and education curriculums and teacher and school systems, and but important is for we in the university all the world.
Yeah.
In the we have to contact to all the world university and the space departments. I search about university space departments all of the world. I have a list. Maybe next time we can send to email and proposal for university contact to Asgardia and university and the college. Is youth. Many people's interesting the space. I follow two young peoples and space organization all of the world. Maybe next time is contact to young organization about Asgardia. I try, but I haven't time. Is I work to university. Sometimes it is very very hard. I reading John Fine papers. I reorganization again for the documents. I will send to you and John Fine.
Thank you. And let's work on the version that we have and see of this first reading, because everything you're saying fits into this all right. It's all okay. But just have another look at the first reading to see if you're okay with the content, because I didn't want to change much from Corner because I think she's really good. But you can have a look at that and see what you think. But we don't have long because we are wanting to talk about this next week. Good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Any other questions or comments to this? John.
Yeah, I would add that this is just the first reading, and which is basically just saying that your first reading is just saying we're putting out a framework there to basically have an Education Act, and this is what we think we'll need in it. And then once they approve the first reading, they'll go into the LMRG, and then we can develop it further there. It'll get a lot of development in there where we'll actually, you and I, Dr.
Sabahattin.
We'll actually communicate one-on-one in the LMRG, where we'll try to work out all the details as far as how we want the innards of the act to go. But as far as the first reading, it's just saying, hey, we want to have an Education Act, and this is how we think we need to frame it. And that's really all the first reading is. I just wanted to add that in there.
Thanks, John. It really is. It's big picture. And then we get into the details that Sabahattin's talking about, and others as well. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Those are the 4 pieces of legislation which we will talk about in terms of first reading at the next sitting. And then we can go into the more substantial, the bigger detail afterwards. In second reading in particular. Second and third reading are usually are the same or almost the same. But first reading can be first reading has to be right because it's the principle. It sets out the principles, and then everything else comes from that. When Corner produced this document originally, it was about 50 pages long, and that's because it was everything, and that's where we start. And I think mostly that's where we'll end, as what we will end as well, because it's a very good process that she's put in place, covering everything. Education is such a complicated field. And then there's a lot of questions of funding and everything, but we're really just looking at the first reading at the moment. Okay, thank you. Then what I'd like to do is go quickly to these last items. We'll have a break and then get ready for our big event after this. Firstly, Asgardia legislation to be scheduled. Now, we have 4 first readings here, but I always want to plan ahead. So if you have something that you think we should cover, you can raise it now or you can send it to me. I want to make sure that we only have legislation that we genuinely need, not legislation we make up just so that we can have legislation. For that reason, I just ask you to be sensible about it, find out in your own mind what you think we should have, and then let's work from that. That really matters. And you can send it to me in writing, and we'll start with the first reading. The other point is that we don't have to do lots of legislation because we are in an implementation phase now, and so we really need to turn our ideas into action. And so that's one reason I don't mind how many or how few individuals we involve in the legislative process. We just need to make sure the legislation we get is the right stuff. Ikobi.
Hi there. Thank you. I just wanted to mention that there is something that is in circulation, but we're still fine-tuning some aspects of it. It's called the Mining Circular and the Cultural Inclusion Act. So those are still being developed by our team before we put it together and send it for like the first reading. But just if you wanted to get involved, you can speak with the cultural department, and you can also speak to Ria as well, because I've sent it out to them and we've been editing it right now. So if you want to look at it to see how it looks, you can definitely go ahead. But that's something we're working on as well, so you can definitely put that on the table. So it's called the Mining Circular from Equity and Resources, and the Cultural Inclusion Act from the Cultural Department.
Okay, thank you. There are 2 things for consideration. I appreciate that. And do please let us know what you think, just as Ikobi has done. And let's try and schedule them in so that we know when they're going to come in. So action step for all of you, please send me a note, even if it's just something you don't know how to write, but you think we need it. We don't have to make much legislation. In my view, most countries make too many laws, like tens of thousands of them, and nobody knows them, and that's pointless. If we have the fewest laws of any country in the world, that would be fantastic in my view. Okay, thank you. Just a word about the Asgardia Executive Congress, and then we'll have a break, and then we'll start the next item at 1300 UTC. The Asgardia Executive Congress is happening in Dubai's 29 of October. All the 12 chairs will be there. A lot of the ministers, the Prime Minister, Head of Nation, Head of Administration, me as Chair of Parliament. So be up to about 40 people there. These are very important because this is our chance to have direct access in person, physically, with the Head of Nation. Some of you have met him, some of you have not. My request is always the same. I would ask every committee to have a meeting before your chair goes so that you can feed in what you'd like to raise at that event. There will be formal sessions, there will be informal time as well. But you have to be in it to win it. So please have your meetings before then so that we can actually really make sure that all the voices of Parliament are heard on relevant matters. Two other things. We always make progress at these events, and there are normally big announcements as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we can deliver there. And the final thing is, as chairs, and I've said this in private, I'll say it in public, as chairs, remember that you're showcasing the work that we're doing in the presence of the head of nation, the man who invented Asgardia. So let's make the most of this brief but very important opportunity to make things happen. That's all I've got on that. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. Well, thank you. Okay, that leads us to any other business. Any other business is that in just over half an hour, we're having a world first. I invite viewers to attend, invite all of you to attend. It is the first ever convention on the Galactic Prime Directive. John, do you want to remind us what that's all about as an advert?
Yes, of course. Well, nobody's ever attempted to have any kind of interstellar law. And currently, the way technology and everything is advancing, 10 years down the road, it's not too far of a stretch to say that humans can be living in space. It's not too far a stretch to say that humans can be exploring other worlds. And we already are exploring other worlds with technology. In fact, that technology has left our solar system and gone further than our solar system into the grand expanse of space. And so this is an attempt to join the world together in creating an interstellar law, very similar to what they did with the law of the sea when back in the days when wooden ships were exploring the vast areas of the world. At one point, there was no kind of law or order in that, and we lost a lot of people and a lot of property and a lot of lives as a result. And then eventually, the world decided to get together and make the law of the sea, and then there was a systematic order of how boats and ships and everything went across the globe, of course. And the same thing, we have an international space law, and it only deals with extraterrestrial or terrestrial politics and whatnot, and terrestrial laws as far as how things are going to interact between Earth and low Earth orbit, and as far as the moon. We've got laws that go as far as the moon. Of course, a lot of people didn't agree to the Moon Treaty, but it's still out there. And so this is an attempt to get the world to sit down and try to hash out how we're going to interact with interstellar space. And of course, there's all kinds of things that can happen during that interaction, and those things are going to be either terrestrial or extraterrestrial, and it could be non-sentient life, could be microorganisms, could be intelligent life, could be dead planets, could be different worlds and different things, and it already involves some of the things that we're, even what we talked about here today with space debris and whatnot, and other things like commercialism of space, or even turning space into a military ground. battleground and stuff like that. There's all kinds of things that can interact interstellarly, and this is us trying to sit down and make a framework. And we, of course, in foreign affairs, we did come up with a framework. A lot of that framework was pulled out of the international space law, and a lot of it was pulled out of a popular. Some of it was actually pulled out of a popular series on TV called Star Trek, which, by the way, Star Trek, much of the information that Star Trek used was uh, current international space law and some national law. So, we looked at that material to try to come up with some kind of framework, and we did. We come up with a framework that we think that the world can at least agree to start at. We don't believe that it's going to be the ideal framework, of course not, because we ain't got the input of the world yet, and that's what this is try to start the talking between us and the world, and hopefully this leads on to bigger and better things. And we hope to have many conferences after this, and we hope to get others from around the world uh, involved in that. And if you were in the Q&A session with the chair of parliament this last Thursday, I read several letters from different parts of the world of people who were they couldn't be one of our panelists, but they were very interested in what we were doing. And one of them even went as far as saying that this is probably the single most important thing endeavor that anybody's just ever tried to do. So, because eventually humans will live and work in space, and eventually they will work outside of our low Earth orbit and past the moon. Um, I fully expect to see man land on the planet Mars before I die. Uh, and I'm definitely going to see man go back to the moon before I die, because that's happening sometime early next year, where in Artemis 2, where they won't be landing on the moon, they will be circling the moon. And then the next, Artemis 3, they'll be landing on the moon. Unless China beats them there, because China has got a pretty good program going themselves. And, China's actually done very well with their program. They managed to accomplish something on Mars that we didn't even do, and that's they managed to get a sample, and it's on its way back, from my understanding. But they back to Earth so they can study it. Of course, we got a sample from an asteroid, but it's really not a competition, even though a lot of people are calling it a space race. But I like I said, the technology is advancing so fast that 10 years down the road is not a stretch to say that we're going to see some pretty exciting things. And so I I think at least we should get the conversation started. That way, the world becomes a responsible steward of interstellar space as much as they are of Earth. And we've already seen that they wasn't such a good steward of low Earth orbit, and that's because of all the space debris. And now they're reacting. Their laws they're reactive to already junking up Earth's low Earth orbit. So, and I just don't want us to be reactive in interstellar space. I want us to be proactive, and this is an opportunity to be proactive, to try to figure out what humans are going to do concerning interstellar space proactively. And I know we were not going to figure out all the things, because we don't know all the things that are going to happen to us, but at least we can come with some kind of consensus of what we might come in contact with. But
Well,
anyway, that's
okay.
what it's about.
Well,
Thank you.
that's an advert for what we're doing in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
It began to sound like we were actually doing it, so let's do it in 25. But you're right. We can talk about this later, but it's a very interesting conversation we're having. Ikeobi.
Well, thank you. I definitely want to congratulate everyone on their hard work and their sort of dexterity in regards to how we're applying ourselves, our open communication, and the aspects of the different sort of development requirements we're putting into place to ensure Asgardia's success. I definitely see continuous improvement. I definitely see us making motions and ways to ensure that all the requirements that need to be done to ensure like their internal structure and the onboarding of different individuals is definitely working appropriately. And I definitely want to just comment on some of the things that I've seen that have definitely been very beneficial, definitely been very influential as well. The Youth and Education Act, the uh, the different acts that John has put up as well, just making sure that everything is just moving smoothly and ensuring that we are acknowledging the different requirements and ensuring that we are working together as a team. Because, like I said, Asgardia is a huge ordeal. There are definitely requirements that need to come into place to ensure that we are successful, and us continuing in this particular direction and ensuring that we are working with each other, we are communicating effectively, and just putting out the right things is definitely what I like to see. I like to just thank Ferda. I like what she wrote. Me and Ferda and I have been going back and forth for the last couple of weeks, and everything looks really good. I like to just commend everyone for their hard work and their like the dexterity to improve what we have been working on so far. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. People are working well, and it's very productive. Anybody else needing to say anything before we break for 20 minutes, before we go on to the next session? Okay, thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. We have a different link, I think, for the next session. Rebecca, do you want to tell people, if you're able to, I should have warned you, just tell people that there's a different link that we'll be using for the session that begins at 1300 UTC. Hiya. Hi. Yeah, very well, thanks. Especially, you're very awake for this time of morning in Canada. Oh.
Yes, it's working now. There we go.
Right.
My apologies to
Good.
people on YouTube. Yeah, I received a separate Zoom link for it, and it will be starting in 22 minutes. I'm working very hard to get everything all set up and looking forward to it. I have nothing else to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Sorry, I did drop you into the front line there. So you get your new link, and we'll see you in 22 minutes. Let's have a break. Rebecca actually needs a little bit of time to reset everything, so that's really good. So thanks all of you for being here. Hopefully we'll see you in the next one. The maximum duration of the next one is also 2 hours. Although I will be facilitating, I don't expect to take a leading role. I think John, and if Verda gets back, Verda will be in it. Fascinating conversation. What do we do to say hello? And how do we stop having a war? Or is this all pointless? That's the interesting question. And we can talk about the technological, the biological, the theological, and the social context of meeting extraterrestrial life. Last word to you, John, then we'll have a break.
Yeah, well, you're the host, so I think you got a leading role.
Okay, well, maybe to facilitate, but I won't be doing most of the talking. I'll be
Okay.
involved, yeah. Obviously, I'm not checking out. Don't worry.
You had me worried there. I was like,
No.
wait a minute, he's not going to take a leading role. Oh, wait a minute, are you going to lead me too? Lead me.
I shall facilitate. That's what I shall do. So don't worry, John.
All right.
I come in peace.
Okay.
And I'll speak in pieces. Right. Thank you, everybody. That will conclude the Asgardia Legislative Forum. We're going to stop in a moment, we're going to stop the broadcast. So you've got 20 minutes, so it should give us enough time to set up for the next one. Next session will be maximum of 2 hours. It could be less, but it's making history. The first forum about how do we say hello to our alien friends? And that starts in 20 minutes, 1300 UTC. Okay, I'm going to shut this down straight away because we're going to see each other in a short while and Rebecca needs to reset the studio and everything else. So I hope I'll see you in 20 minutes.